And next, we are going to be joined by John Argue, who is a social justice advocate who has coordinated the Ontario Coalition for Social Justice, worked at community legal clinics in Riverdale, Thorncliffe, and Parkdale in Toronto, and his focus has been on housing issues. And John is here to speak with us this morning, particularly about the plight faced by roomers, that is, individuals, because of their circumstances, who find themselves not looking to rent an apartment or a home, but looking to rent a room in someone else's home. The city, as you know, is passed and moving towards a harmonized bylaw for the entire city, or attempting to harmonize our bylaws. And John is going to explain why that poses some particular and significant hurdles for individuals looking to room in someone else's house. John, it is a real pleasure to have you here so bright and early in the morning. Good morning, and thanks for being here.
Morning, Joel. Good to be here, too. This is an important issue, actually, because there are a great number of people who just cannot afford rental accommodation, let alone to buy a condo or a house. And so roomers really depend on the availability of rooms. The first problem in this regard began in the discussions resulting in the harmonized bylaw that was passed a year ago by City Council, which supposedly was harmonizing different rules in different bylaws in the various parts of what we used to call Metro, all through Toronto, not just the city itself, where roomers actually are allowed, for the most part, to rent rooms, and therefore where rooming houses are covered by the bylaw, but also in Scarborough and North York, just because of the number of people who live there and don't want to travel all the way down, or away from work a long distance. The problem, however, is that the harmonized bylaw is not harmonized in regard to the right of roomers to rent a room in Scarborough or North York or parts of Etobicoke. And so a number of us, community activists, people concerned with housing and the rights of people, to have housing where they want to live and where they can afford to live, are concerned to amend the bylaw. What happened, however, with the new administration, Rob Ford, I think, symbolizes cutbacks and whatever else. The Growth Management Committee, just 2 days ago on Tuesday, has recommended that the harmonized bylaw be withdrawn. What happened in the meantime was that since City Council passed it a year ago, there have been almost 700 appeals by various developers and other groups concerned with other rules or paying greater taxes or whatever else might bother them. People concerned with roomers have done so too. So the Advocacy Centre of Tenants Ontario is one of the legal aid clinics specializing particularly in housing issues. The anti-poverty committees, the United Way in Toronto, or Social Planning Toronto, have all taken action and are organizing to try to help people who need the right of rooms. In fact, there are a number of roomers in places where it's not strictly speaking legal. But the problem and their vulnerability, of course, is that strictly they could be kicked out at any time. So they're really vulnerable to landlords not keeping up the rooms in good condition, so their health is in jeopardy, their safety might be in jeopardy, and just their vulnerability about being kicked out of the places they live. So it's really frustrating. Hence, with it being opened, the one possibility now on which we all, the activists who are concerned about this, will concentrate is to try to convince a majority of City Council that in fact the harmonized bylaw does need to be replaced a year from now, when the projection is it will come back to this committee of City Council on November 6th, and that meeting in November 6th this fall be a public meeting, or November 8th, actually, it's early. And then I think it goes to City Council on February 6th in 2012. But with those two meetings, our hope is, in the meantime, to mobilize enough people to recognize the rights of roomers and that they be recognized, and therefore to harmonize it properly.
John, when we're talking about roomers and recognizing the rights of roomers, I guess the first question is, why do you think that's been difficult to get people to recognize? And secondly, and maybe this is related, are there any demographic characteristics unique to the group of people who find themselves as roomers? I mean, obviously leaps to mind, it's people who are looking for cheaper accommodation, but are there any other characteristics that tie this group together?
I think you hit the key one, Joel. Poverty is an issue, and economic concerns on the part of people who just don't have enough money seek the available shelter, and that is a room if they have it. Another serious consideration is disability, actually, and so that's in part why a number of us look at it from a human rights perspective, and therefore. Before this harmonized bylaw was recommended to be repealed by the committee the other day, and presumably will by City Council next week, what we were doing was actually appealing to the Human Rights Commission, so that the Human Rights Commission would itself hear, on a human rights basis, the right of people to housing, which is just quite clear. I think international obligations of the country obligate this country and the province and the city to deal with this kind of issue. And without getting into the detail of that argument, the human rights culture, as it were, has increasingly become known, and people are really sympathetic to this. I suppose the other difficulty or the image, of some roomers and in some areas of the city is that they're less desirable types. So frankly, I think this is a kind of a class issue where some people are just not comfortable with whatever I think erroneous stereotype of roomers, but roomers who, in their opinion, may be causing trouble, may get drunk, may do drugs, or whatever other image. I don't think that's a fair image. By far, the majority of roomers, by far the majority of people, are regular law-abiding people who, unfortunately, just have the great challenge of finding a cheap enough place to stay that is healthy and reasonable. So it'll be an interesting debate. I mean, hopefully the population can become educated that roomers are just like us, just that they need a slightly cheaper place to stay. But also, I think it's in the interest of the city to have a wider variety of places that are legal, that are well kept, and that are healthy for the full variety of people, or everybody with a full variety of income that they need or have to buy accommodation.
I would imagine the objection of some communities to permitting roomers within their neighborhoods is a fear that rooming houses will grow up, and what you talk to, the view, probably and potentially erroneous, but the fear that a rooming house won't be seen as desirable and it will affect property values in their neighborhood. How do we deal with that perception? And I guess a related question, in your work, what is the mix between roomers who are living in full-fledged licensed rooming houses as opposed to people who actually are living with a family that owns a house, or with an individual where they're renting a room from the owner of the home and simply renting one room? Or is that even possible to know, given how renting a single room is often driven underground? Maybe those numbers aren't even available to us.
Well, if the numbers are available, I don't know them, Joel. Yeah, I'm not sure. And I think the simple explanation of my ignorance is that people in legal aid clinics where I've run into this, or when I coordinated the Social Justice Coalition, of course, we were concerned about vulnerable people facing this too. The fact is, we're dealing with vulnerable people who are having difficulties, and so it's really hard to know exactly. And as you say, part of the facts here are underground, in that both rooming house owners or landlords and roomers themselves don't advertise the fact. I think it's just broad education. It's what I mentioned before, and it's an intriguing aspect. And I think it's potentially positive because of recognizing people's rights, whether they be the rights of people who are disabled, whether they people who speak a different language and just have no other place to be, and of course, fundamentally and most usually, this is the only place they can afford. So I think some education by all sorts of different community groups and people sympathetic to the variety of roomers who are facing these difficulties is the kind of thing that would be taking place. I had an interesting experience just recently because I worked at Parkdale Community Legal Services for 3 months, which is a great legal aid clinic, I think because of the availability and work there by law students. And so it's a combination of law students working with lawyers and community legal workers, like I was, that offer services at that clinic. The other legal aid clinics throughout Ontario are places where community legal workers and lawyers are based. But the attraction of the law students is just it's a bigger place and they can do more things and therefore work with a greater variety of people. And Parkdale is the community I mentioned just because of the fact that the Queen Street Mental Health Centre has been there, and actually a controversy a number of years ago when, we go back to the Bill Davis government, dare I say, when it was decided by the provincial government to encourage, to use a nice word, a number of people, mental health patients at the center, to live in the community instead. It was a money-saving decision. And so people were, just turned out of the mental health center and turned into the community. But the problem was, of course, they just don't have the services, and therefore the stereotypes and the difficulties and the challenges of many people who are roomers were just magnified by the Parkdale community. The good news is that there are a number of people in the community and groups in the community who have been really helping, and so it is working out well, but it's still a challenge. It's nice that there's a bright councillor. Gord Perks was elected, and Gord is just a great, knowledgeable councillor representing his constituents, but also just a knowledgeable and effective advocate, with the problem, of course, that a majority at City Council isn't absolutely clear. But Gord can be one of the ones who can lead the battle and really fight for the people who need some help. So that'll be the interesting thing in the next number of months. I think we have some interesting discussions, debates, and we probably will all learn how best to serve this part of the population that really does need rooms, and maybe, hopefully, encourage the city. And the city staff are fine, for the most part, in my experience. But it's just that magic number on council that we're going to need. But I think elected councillors have to be sympathetic and open to their constituents. So it's not just right versus left, I don't think, although I certainly view it that way, and that's how the vote has taken place, it seems. But I really think there's that middle group of people who are really sympathetic on council to their constituents, and hopefully we can convince them and just educate the population, for goodness sake, which in turn can hopefully convince these councillors whose votes we will need in another year or so, or less than a year, I guess. It'll come back to committee and then to city council. So interesting times for helping roomers.
The listeners out there, John, that want to get involved, that want to help with the education that you're talking about, that want to help in their community and make sure that there's safe housing available for people, where do they turn? Let's start first with that education piece of the wider community. As you noted, we often look straight to City Council and think in ideological terms, but the fact is, I do believe that our city councillors are all there trying to do their best job and will respond to their constituents and to their community. So the first goal needs to be reaching out to those communities. So listeners, and our listenership tends to be concentrated downtown Toronto, although I know for those of you listening on the internet at ckln.fm, that's not true. You're across the country, but tends to be concentrated downtown in the old city of Toronto where rooming is legal and we have experience with it. But if listeners want to help with that education piece in other parts of the city where it's not allowed, how do they do that? And before I ask John to jump in, I'm going to repeat the phone number here is 416-595-1655. So if you're listening anywhere across the country or I guess around the world on the internet, feel free to call in and ask John any question you have on this topic. He really does have a wealth of knowledge. But John, people who want to help, where do they turn? How can they spend their energies in a helpful way?
I think one clear opportunity is the really positive work that's being done by a couple of people working at the West Scarborough Community Legal Services office. So it's the local community legal clinic or services that are offered in Scarborough that in fact are in touch with a number of roomers who have been encouraged by the Legal Aid Clinic to apply to the Human Rights Commission, actually, before this change just occurred 2 days ago, where the harmonized bylaw was removed now by City Council for a whole review period. But West Scarborough Legal Services will continue its work. Other community legal clinics, too. So if people are interested to help and they live in Etobicoke or in Toronto itself, where it's not where it's a slightly different issue, the local legal clinic might be able to help. The other group that has really shown interest, actually, and help and leadership is Social Planning Toronto. So Social Planning Toronto, of course, is the social planning organization for the whole city. And through them, one of their staff is organizing an anti-poverty committee, or is chair of the anti-poverty committee in Scarborough. And I go back to Scarborough just because that's the most useful location where this can be raised, because the worst aspects of the harmonized bylaw apply to Scarborough, because the inadequacy of the rules there. The traditional single-family house is the legal place to live in Scarborough. And with due respect to people in Scarborough and all those people in apartment buildings and living in apartments and probably condos, I trust. I don't know Scarborough all that well. There are a number of rumors there, too. And so social service people are really helping and dealing with those people. But to repeat, I think legal aid clinics, Social Planning Toronto are probably the most useful institutions to help. But I wouldn't be surprised that a local community center might help too, or elsewhere in the city. There are health aspects of this, and so if there are activists working with local community health centers, I am sure that a given health center might talk about the health aspects of roomers who just wouldn't have their health looked after necessarily, living in an illegal rooming situation. So dealing with the worst aspect, you might get some money-grubbing property owner who just wants to stuff people into whatever building he or she owns or the numbered company owns, and just not looking after the place. And it's just an unhealthy place to have shelter, just a disagreeable place to live. And so a whole variety of perspectives, I think, might come to play with this and add to the education. So I'm sure all sorts of groups could be involved.
And if I am a roomer, John, particularly as you mentioned in Scarborough, living in a situation that isn't regularized, isn't covered under the bylaw, so I'm living illegally in a room, but anywhere in the city, if I'm a roomer, and let's focus on that group of roomers who aren't covered, so they don't have any of those legal protections. What are my recourse? What options do I have if I find that my landlord is becoming abusive? And certainly this doesn't apply to all landlords. There are great landlords out there, and we thank you for being great landlords. But there are some not so good landlords we know in this city, and the Golden Cockroach Award, which gets awarded annually, tells us that. But if I'm a roomer, and particularly one of those roomers who doesn't have the legal protections of living in the old city of Toronto, where at least you have that layer that the bylaw permits it, who can I turn to deal with short-term problems or longer-term problems? Where can I go for help in a real emergency? And I'm going to ask the follow-up question. If I do find myself, one day I come home and the locks have been changed and I'm out and my possessions are on the front lawn, and as an individual who used to work at one of the community legal clinics a number of years ago, that scenario is unfortunately not as uncommon as we all wish it would be. But I come home and I find some of my possessions on the front lawn and I'm no longer welcome. Where can I go? Who can I reach out to?
I really do believe, based on my own experience, that the different community legal clinics all through the province actually are the most helpful institution. The satisfying part, with all the frustrations of trying to help people that need the help at a legal aid clinic, is the continuing nature of these problems. However, there are really sympathetic people there. I think there are 80 or 81 legal clinics around the province, and the staff there almost 100% of them are dedicated people really willing to help. And in the emergency situation, it definitely is a legal aid clinic who can, or whose staff can go to court if necessary, or wherever the landlord-tenant board, in order to overturn some desperate emergency that would help. I suppose depending on who the counselor is, I mean, a city councilor might offer help, but in the emergency situation that you're mentioning, I think a community legal clinic is the most helpful institution and place where people can help in an emergency situation. And that number can be found just if you don't even know the name of the legal aid clinic, which is understandable. Legal Aid Ontario, would definitely have the information, or even 311 in Toronto would have numbers of community legal clinics. So you might have to make one or two extra calls, but you can get the legal clinic in your area. And that's the other aspect of them, because they are set up and established to be responsible and work with people in a given neighborhood. So Parkdale Community Legal Services, logically because of the name, represents the Parkdale area. And I used to work in the Riverdale area, and I think that's where many of the problems occurred in the east end of Toronto. But because of the area that we covered, we actually changed the name to East Toronto Legal Services, just to cover the whole area. Anyway, the point being, though, that there's a legal clinic in the particular area. And the staff there and the volunteers with the clinic, too, would be really eager to accept any help offered by a volunteer, just to help out, educate people more broadly, and to convince city councillors that roomers do need protection.
And that obviously covers the legal needs of people. If I find myself absolutely without a place to stay tonight, does the city have any emergency line that I can contact, at least directing me towards a really short-term shelter should that be needed? Is there a place at the city that listeners should be directing people to if they know someone who needs help immediately, on the shelter aspect, not on the legal aspects, or if I find myself with no place to go?
Joel, there are various shelters. I think probably there are more right downtown than elsewhere, but probably the easiest number, certainly the easiest to remember, is just that 3-digit number, 311, which in turn can transfer you actually, to whatever shelter or whatever particular help or emergency assistance might be available. Daily Bread Food Bank, is a well-known institution. So food banks, whether it be that one, whether it be other well-known food banks, or whether it be soup kitchens at churches or community centers around the city, are places that are known to the city and therefore whose information is available through 311 too. So it's a useful, emergency, easy number to call.
Thank you, John. And we started this conversation by moving away from city council, but I betray some of my interests in that sort of nitty-gritty of politics as it takes place within the council chamber. You mentioned Gord Perks as a champion of this issue, particularly an issue that does arise in his constituency in Parkdale. Other than Gord Perks, how does the council currently break down? Who do you see as the other champions of this issue, the other people that you suspect will be willing to come on board and support Councillor Perks, and who we should be giving kudos to, sending emails and phones supporting their position and encouraging them? And who do you see as the councillors as the biggest obstacles, maybe because their constituencies are most opposed and they're representing the views of their constituencies, or because for personal reasons they have misgivings, and the people where we should be reaching out most with our educational efforts?
Well, the compliments are easy and pleasant. I think Adam Vaughan comes to mind. The fellow who is portrayed in the media actually as the opponent of Rob Ford next time. Who knows whether Adam would go for mayor? But Adam is a responsible guy who has a wide knowledge and experience and really represents his constituents well. Janet Davis in the East End. Those are some. Paula Fletcher is another clear person, councillor, who really is very helpful. Their number. There's about a dozen people who are in the progressive group, the left side versus the left-right side debate, who are really good people, good counselors, good, that is. Obviously, my bias is those very people who work so hard, put in so many hours, and help people in a whole variety of ways, are people with whom those of us at legal aid clinics or Social Planning Toronto will be working to try to do this education. The other ones are are kind of obvious. They're obvious, that is, in the political debate, unfortunately, of that's going on. How did Ford win? God, I just have no idea, because he just represents so many things that I'm opposed to and think are bad for this city. So his namesake councillor, the brother, is the other one I trust in the same group. Mammoliti. These people are just on the other side. But at the same time, well, I just disagree so strongly with them politically. What the heck? They're human. So even though these guys, for the most part, are just dreadful on these issues, in my opinion, they probably think I'm real bad, or the people in community legal clinics, are really bad. And one of the virtues, I suppose, of the 6 or 8 month delay of further discussion and education is that, maybe we'll find just some way where even the people with whom we radically disagree can have their minds changed right now. And I really believe that the human rights of people are fundamental, and the rights of roomers are clearly the justifiable, the social justice side that has to win in the end. And so hopefully there'll be enough people who will be convinced of that.
Yeah, it takes me back, John, actually a little earlier to when I was doing the news and filed under Life is Complicated with Sean Avery, a hockey player who I don't like at all, coming out publicly in support of equal marriage in New York. And so, as you mentioned, people are also people, and we can get bogged down in our disagreements and in our political spats and see people as completely on the other side. But I think there always is room. There always is room if we reach out in good faith to really talk about the issue. And Mammoliti in particular has a history, I believe, with Toronto Community Housing. So is someone who does have some housing background. John, I want to thank you so much for being here this morning at the early hour that you've come in and talking with us about a very, very serious issue. Thanks so much for being here, John.
Fine, Joel. Pleasure to be here.
And on a couple of days ago, I listened to Trish Hennessy, who was with the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives, and inspired by Trish Hennessy, who has a statistics that she puts out, a list of shocking facts. I have a shocking fact for you this morning to think about, and that is that 2/3, 67% of all Canadian wealth is controlled by only 3.8% of Canadian households. So I leave that particular statistic and fact with you to think about, and I'm going to give the last word this morning to Canadian folk singer Ian Robb. And here is Ian Robb with his song, They're Taking It All Away.
Oh, they're taking it away, yes, they're taking it away. They are taking all the good things you can hear the people say. And they'll take it all tomorrow if they don't take it today. From the poor and sick and helpless, they are taking it away. Oh, our governments elected in the democratic way are whining at the cost of all the things they have to pay. And the bully boys on Bay Street, you can hear the bastards say, to hell with paying taxes, pull the safety net away. Oh, they're taking it away, they're taking it away. They are taking all the good things you can hear the people say. And they'll take it all tomorrow if they don't take it today. From the poor and sick and helpless, they are taking it away. If you're down upon your luck and need to keep the wolf at bay, just don't rely on welfare or the dole to pay your way. For the rich they have decided not another cent to pay. You can whistle for your supper, for they've taken it away. Oh, they're taking it away, they're taking it away. They are taking all the good things you can hear the people say. And they'll take it all tomorrow if they they don't take it today. From the poor and sick and helpless, they are taking it away. If you're native, black or Asian, if you're feminist or gay, if you're just a little different from the most of us today, if you want to make your point or if you want to have your say, you can spit into the wind because they've taken it away. Oh, they're taking it away, they're taking it away. They are taking all the good things you can hear the people say. And they'll take it all tomorrow if they don't take it today. From the poor and sick and helpless, they are taking it away. If you're battered by your husband and you need a place to stay, you'd best get down upon your knees and quickly learn to pray. For the Women's Centre's phone was disconnected yesterday, and there's no one left to talk to, now they've taken it away. Oh, they're taking it away, they're taking it away. They are taking all the good things you can hear the people say. And they'll take it all tomorrow if they don't take it today. From the poor and sick and helpless, they are taking it away. If it's ever your misfortune in a hospital to stay, you'd best not be impatient for a bed on which to lay. For your health ain't worth the taxes that the healthy have to pay, and the beds were too expensive, so they've taken them away. Oh, they're taking it away, they're taking it away. They are taking all the good things you can hear the people say. And they'll take it all tomorrow if they don't take it today. From the poor and sick and helpless, they are taking it away. Oh, there's those that have and those that don't, and those who are okay, and there's those who understand that fairness is the only way. But there's those who are so comfortable they look the other way, and they vote for all the villains who would take it all away. Oh, they're taking it away, they're taking it away. They are taking all the good things you can hear the people say. And they'll take it all tomorrow if they don't take it today. From the poor and sick and helpless, they are taking it away. So if you've health and wealth and wisdom, stop and spare a thought today. For those who don't and those who can't, there is no other way. Or we might as well give up the ghost and join the USA. For there won't be any difference when they take it all away. Oh, they're taking it away, yes, they're taking it away. They are taking all the good things you can hear the people say. And they'll take it all tomorrow if they don't take it today. From the poor and sick and helpless, they are taking it away.